Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I think that should pretty much cover everything. And welcome to the 2022-23 Premier League Predictions Challenge, where it turned out the real challenge was finding an hour where all of us were free to record. And as such, I didn't want to waste any time doing a live intro, and so you're listening to me now after the fact. What we did is I made a little quiz, and I gave it to four guests, and then we chatted through our predictions, our answers, for your entertainment. This idea has been stolen wholeheartedly off of the Chain Bear YouTube channel. They make quality Formula One content all throughout the year, and they do this exact thing for Formula One every season. So if you're into Formula One, do go and check out Chain Bear on YouTube. Anyway, I've waffled on long enough, so without going on any further, sit back with a cup of tea, or put us on in the background while you do the washing up or whatever, whilst we predict everything that's going to happen in the Premier League this season. Cool. Let's make a start. So I think the first thing for me to do is to introduce my guests. So we've got Jordan. Good evening, Jordan.
What's up? Good evening, Matthew.
Good evening. You feeling confident about your ability to predict the Premier League? Think you're going to take home the crown?
I think because I was the last one to make my predictions, I've gathered the most info. So statistically, I've got the best chance, yeah.
Yeah, Jordan did actually submit his predictions late. In fact, there is a punishment for that will become clear.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they were actually late, and so there is a punishment for that will become clear shortly. I'm also joined by Matt. You're a Chelsea fan. Are you happy with how last season went for Chelsea?
Pretty disappointing overall, I would say. I mean, on paper, two finals, the Super Cup and the Club World Cup. That sounds pretty good, but I feel like both those finals we should have won. So. But no, excited for this.
Yeah, the FA Cup as well, was it?
Yeah, FA Cup and Carabao Cup. Lost both on penalties.
Oof. Wow.
They're both Liverpool. I've forgotten now. They're both just horrific. They were both Liverpool, weren't they? Yeah. Oh.
Wiped it from your memory.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm also joined by James. Good evening.
What's happening, people? What's happening?
Before we started recording, we already mentioned a little bit of United optimism. Are you excited for the Ten Hag revolution?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. I have zero stock in United this year.
Nice. Probably a good way to be. And lastly, I'm joined by Mark. Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Mark, as far as I'm aware, you're the only person here today who's ever spoken about football on the internet before. So do you think that will give you an advantage?
No, because I look back at my predictions from this last season and most of them were wrong. So I'm not very confident, but it is what it is. Let's see how it goes.
We'll see. I'll also be playing along. I realised that probably the people in this call have no idea why my name is Matt Finish on the screen. That's the name of my YouTube channel. It's just there to distinguish me from the other Matt. I don't insist on being referred to by my YouTube channel name. So let's make a start. First question is, as you might expect, predicting the top six. So we'll put all these on the screen. So Matt has gone for Manchester City, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, and United. James has gone Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, United. Mark's gone for City, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, United, and Arsenal. And I've gone for City, Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Leicester. And Jordan's punishment for submitting his predictions late is that even though he's at the top, they're going to come in last a lot of the time, which I know will probably actually annoy him. So that's
no.
He's putting it on. But anyway, Jordan has gone for pretty much the same as me, except with United in there instead of Leicester. We've all got City at number one. Matt, can you offer us any hope that it's not going to be City, or do you think it's going to be a walkover this time?
Before I answer that question, did anyone else notice there's a perfect arrowhead created by the Chelsea positions in our teams?
Wow.
Look at that. Look at that, so aesthetically pleasing.
Look at us.
That's a level of attention to detail that will stand you out in this quiz, I'm
That's all
sure.
I can see is Chelsea. I mean, I think I think it's a telltale sign we've all gone for City, isn't it? I mean, they're a strong team. They were strong last season. They've been strong for a long time, and you could argue they've only become stronger. Obviously, lost a few players given Chelsea Sterling, which is very generous of them. But bringing in Haaland, if he stays injury free, I saw something on Twitter yesterday, just something like he might have got injured or something. That might be fake news. I don't know. But if he stays injury free, surely he only makes them another level better again. So I think they're the safe bet, Man City.
Mark, you've put Spurs up there in second, which is your first bold call of the evening. Is that going to be Spurs improving or Liverpool getting worse?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both. Let me start by saying it's not that I have faith in Spurs. It's more that I have a lot of faith in Antonio Conte and what he's going to do. I think if you look at the transfer market, that's what I'm basing this off of a lot. I think Spurs have gone out and done their business quite early. They've done good business. They've brought in players that I think fit in Conte's style really, really well. And I only see them getting much better. When I look at Liverpool, I'm not saying it's all going to come down to Sadio Mane, but I think he will be a big miss for them. I think Darwin Núñez as a replacement, we'll see how well he does. I don't think he's going to maybe start or have the best start and be able to replace Mane. But yeah, I don't think Liverpool are going to have enough to compete for the title. That's why I think Spurs are just going to edge it. So yeah, it is a bold call. But yeah, I am confident in Antonio Conte and the football that he wants to be playing. So yeah.
Jordan, you've got your team, Arsenal, in fourth there. Would that be a good season for them?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd be very happy with fourth. I think that for me, I think City are going to be runaway leaders. I don't even think it would be there'll be any question. I think it'd be a lot less close than it was this last season. I agree with what Mark was saying about Spurs. And I think, yeah, I can see Arsenal coming into fourth. I think looking at Chelsea and what's going on there, looking at what's going on at United, I think we've had a good summer so far. We made some good business, some good transfers. And I'm confident. I think we've had like this year where we've kind of gelled. We've got this young squad who have got this year of experience now behind them. And I think with the signings we've got and I think our big kind of, from my point of view, one of the big things we struggled with was this kind of lack of squad depth. It was quite a thin squad. And I think kind of having make a few signings, bolstering up some of these areas, Zinchenko in recently, I am feeling confident. Famous last words.
Yeah, definitely. James, you've got Chelsea the highest up there at the top of the arrowhead. The only person who's got them above Spurs. Do you think a good season for Chelsea this year?
Yeah, I think if you look at the backbone of the Spurs team, I'd personally feel less and less confident in them every season. Lloris is getting super old.
Yeah.
Harry Kane didn't have the best start to the season last season. Son basically carried the team until Harry Kane showed up last season for Spurs. And I think Chelsea have a lot more, especially with the Sterling signing, Mason Mount, obviously. I feel like Pulisic is still yet to show us his best work. I think there's a lot more to be excited about for Chelsea than Tottenham at the moment.
Sure. I'll largely stay quiet on my predictions, but I do just want to point out that I have left Manchester United off there, and that's not due to any huge agenda against them. It's actually kind of the opposite, really, in that for the last 2 or 3 years, I've constantly been predicting them to improve whenever a new manager's come in, and I've always been wrong. So even though I probably still feel like Ten Hag is going to do a good job and they are going to improve, I've decided that I should not follow my gut on that. And I do think Leicester had a lot of injuries last season, especially in defence. And they were obviously in Europe until very late on as well. I think once they got those players back, Wesley Fofana is huge. And he's also really good at football. But yeah, I just think with those players back and no Europe this year, that they're going to have a good year. So that's the top 6. Moving on to the next question, which is mid-table obscurity. I actually picked 4 teams that were going to finish between 7th and 10th. These aren't in any particular order. It's just points for however many of these teams are in that window. Incidentally, if you do want to play along at home, I've not put any of the point scoring into this on the screen, but I'll link the quiz in the description. So, and that explains all the points in there if you want to play along and see how you do. Unfortunately, it doesn't send you your predictions because I didn't want to get into having to store emails and stuff. But if you make a note of them, we'll go through all the points properly at the end of the year. You can do that. So for these 4 spots, Matt, James, Mark and myself have all got Newcastle and West Ham in there. Matt's also got Villa and Leicester. James has gone for Palace and Everton. Mark's gone Brighton and Leicester. And I've gone Villa and United. The latecomer Jordan has got, same as Matt, Villa, Leicester, Newcastle and West Ham. James, you've got the most obviously different teams in there. You're expecting a big upturn from Everton?
I think last season was too much for the whole Everton club to take. I don't know if they can do it again. And also, this is also a road prediction, and it may be too early in the show for this, but I think Frank Lampard's going to get sacked pretty early on. And that's why I deem them to do so well.
Fair enough.
But I do think they're going to be at the bottom end of that.
The bottom end, so about 10th for Everton.
Yeah.
Jordan, you've got a lot of us have got Aston Villa in there. You think a good season for Villa this year, an improvement?
Yeah, I do. I think particularly compared to kind of the other teams that are going to be knocking around those kind of places in the table, I do think they're going to edge out. I think it'll be tight, but I liked what I saw last season towards the end. I quite like Gerrard. I quite like the squad they've got and the players they've got. And so, yeah, I feel like, is that 7th to 10th, isn't it? I think they're definitely going to be, I think in my head, I'd put them on at the 10th. But we'll have to see. I think when you get to around these kind of numbers, it gets a little bit trickier to predict, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, segueing on from that point then is the second part of this question, which is predicting the 7 teams that are going to finish between 11th and 17th. Again, there's no particular order to this. Kind of confusing one to display on screen. I've gone with doing it this way. Matt, James, Mark and myself have all got Crystal Palace in that window. Matt, Mark and myself have got Brentford, Everton and Southampton in that window. Matt, James and myself have got Brighton. Still with me? James, Mark and myself have got Wolves. And then on top of that, Matt's got Fulham and Leeds. James has got Villa, Leeds, Fulham and Forest. Mark has got Villa and Forest. I've got Bournemouth sneaking in there. And Jordan has gone for Brighton, Palace, Everton, Leeds, Forest, Southampton and Wolves. Probably not an awful lot of interesting things to say about this. I will just point out that James has put Crystal Palace in both the previous questions.
I saw it straight away. I was like, what?
which is, it's not against the rules. You're just expecting a very bad season from Leicester, who weren't included at all. Mark, have you got anything to comment on the teams you've selected there?
No, not really. I'm a little bit worried about Brentford. I'd say Brentford is the only team I'm not 100% sure of. I think they are kind of like on the edge. They could either be 17th or 16th around there, but definitely I think that's one to look out for next season. They might be in relegation battle. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the relegation battle, last bit, let's round out the table with predicting the 3 teams that are going to get relegated. So Matt has gone Bournemouth, Forest and Wolves. James has gone Bournemouth, Brentford and Southampton. Mark's gone Bournemouth, Fulham and Leeds. I've gone Fulham, Leeds, Forest, and Jordan's gone Bournemouth, Brentford and Fulham. And I was really only one place to start here for me, and that's with Matt. Wolves are going to get relegated.
Yeah, I noticed that in the previous screen. You've all got them in the previous bracket. I think they've been middling to poor last season. I think a lot of their good players who they've been highly relying on have been, your Jimenez and people like that. I think have not been performing. I think they've been scraping by, and I will say as well, I listened to a football podcast where they chat about these sorts of things, and they were putting their bets on Wolves to have a poor season next season. So that was my insider trading line. But I think they're too reliant on a fairly average group of players to play really well, and they haven't been, especially last season. So it is a tough one. I could have put Leeds in there. I could have put Everton in there quite possibly as well. So I found that the hardest one to answer, actually, what were the three relegated teams. So it was tight for me.
Yeah, I think Leeds to stay up is a very bold prediction in and of itself. I wouldn't be surprised to see them right down there. Obviously, the newly promoted teams are always in that conversation. James, I think you're the only person who's got two of the newly promoted teams staying up. I think we've all got two to go down. You're expecting not a lot from Southampton this year, though.
I think Southampton have had their time in the Premier League. I think they've been.
Sounds like a threat.
They've had enough chances. They've historically have done really great business in terms of selling players, but have never really replaced any of those players. And I think all of the players that were in any good Southampton team are now gone. Maybe apart from James Ward-Prowse, and he is just good at free kicks.
And corners.
And corners. I'm not sure I don't know if he's got enough to keep him up by himself. Right. Shining light of that team is maybe Che Adams, but is it enough? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That's the table rounded out. So moving on to some different predictions now. The next one is the Golden Boot. So this is a player that's going to score the most Premier League goals this season. Matt, James, and Mark have all gone for Erling Haaland, although two of you spelt it wrong, but I won't reveal who. I've gone for Son Heung-min, and Jordan has gone for Mohamed Salah. Mark, Erling Haaland to come straight out the bat and get the Golden Boot.
Yeah, there's this thing that you learn when you're younger. It's like 1 + 1 = 2, and that's what this is. Erling Haaland is a great goal scorer. Man City create loads of chances and score loads of goals. Erling Haaland will score loads of goals and he won the Golden Boot. That's the simplest way I could put it, really. I think, he's going to be a great addition to that team. I think, I'm worried for the other teams in the Prem. I think he's going to dominate. I really do. I think it's going to be tough to handle Erling Haaland next season.
Jordan, you've gone for the tried and true approach. If in doubt, vote for Mohamed Salah or Salah.
I'm surprised I'm the only one who's gone for him out of 5 of us. I thought this would be an easy one for all of us. The only other name I was even considering to us was Harry Kane. I think with Haaland, I'm just like, how many times have we seen a player come from, an international league with all this hype around them and then just flop? I think we've seen it takes a bit of time to get used to the Prem. And I'm not saying he's... Sorry, I hope you can't hear all the sirens going on.
Are you being arrested for your take?
Got it, boys.
But I am surprised I'm the only who's picked, as you said it, Matt, tried and tested, proven Golden Boot, proven goal scorer Mo Salah. I think Haaland will do really well. I'm just not confident enough in Pep's rotation and also in him coming in and settling into this new league for this first season at the very least.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you there. I think Haaland for me, like, it just doesn't seem to sit quite right. I'm sure he'll be great. It's like I'm sure he'll be great, but he just doesn't seem. I've never really seen him play, so I can't really comment on this. But he just doesn't seem like the right kind of player for City. Like when they signed Alvarez, I was really excited to see him play. He seemed like the ideal candidate to sort of play in that false 9-ish role. And Haaland, just to me, just because of the way he looks, I'm probably just really prejudiced. But I also just think that, Son got the Golden Boot last year, and Spurs are probably, I think most of us are predicting Spurs to be better this year than last year. And so that was my maybe 2 + 2 = 4 prediction on top of the 1 + 1. But anyway, we'll see on Golden Boot. The next question was to predict teams of the year. So that says how many teams will be represented in the PFA Team of the Year. You can see last year's Team of the Year down the right there, which I believe has 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in it. So let's see what we've gone for this time. Jordan's gone 4, Matt's gone 4, James has gone 6, Mark has gone 5, and I've also gone for 5. Matt, you're expecting much the same this time around?
Yeah, I think I looked at last year's team and just looked at the kinds of players in the teams for next season, and I just thought it's likely to be Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Tottenham dominated again. I mean, you've got Ronaldo in there last year for United, but is he going to have another season like that again? I don't know. I don't know if there are enough quality teams outside of those 4 teams that are going to quality players. Sorry, outside of those 4 teams who are going to have outstanding seasons. Like we talked about having an outstanding season to be in that PFA team.
James, you're expecting a bit more variety this time around.
Yeah, I'm in there for a West Ham player to get in there this year, man.
Ooh.
I want a West Ham player in there. I think naturally, I think it could be. I don't know if Bowen will have as good a season as he did last season, but definitely there's potential there for Antonio, who surprises me every single year with how many goals he scores. So I think the good players are more spread out, slightly more spread out than they were last year. I think Chelsea could get a few players in there as well, with their fullbacks definitely. But yeah, we'll see. I think I'm happy with my 6.
We will see. Moving on to the next question, which is Brentford backing, which I've also called R, not the B's. I hope somebody gets that reference. So slightly convoluted question a little bit, but it's pick 2 teams from last season's top 10. That's last season's top 10 for you on the screen. And however well Brentford do against them, you get those points. So if Brentford win, you get 3 points. If Brentford draw, you get 1 point. So Matt obviously has gone for Brentford getting loads of points against Wolves because he thinks they're terrible. And also Brighton. James has gone for Arsenal and United. Mark has gone for City and Liverpool.
Wow.
I've gone Brighton and Chelsea, and Jordan has gone with Matt again, which seems to be a bit of a recurring theme, actually, of you two picking similar with Brighton and Wolves. James, you've gone against your team, against the Ten Hag revolution. Although you said you had no...
Zero stock.
Mark, City and Liverpool. Talk me through that one.
Yeah, I did not understand the question. Now that you're saying it, it makes sense. I don't know what I was thinking in my head, but that is not what I was thinking. So yeah,
well, we'll see. You want to talk your way out of it? Do you think they both play with a high line, even Tony?
Let's not lie to each other here. No, I think maybe they could get something from the games. I think I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, but I'm not very confident in that prediction.
No. Right, moving on to the next question. Next question is slight out of the box. So pick the newly promoted team that will be the last to reach 10 points. So Matt's gone Forest, James has gone Bournemouth, myself and Mark have gone for Fulham, and Jordan's gone for Bournemouth as well. Jordan, any wisdom as to how you came to that conclusion?
Yeah, I think I'm surprised so many people, I think Matt, you both pitched Forest to go down this season. I think Steve Cooper did such a good job last season, taking the base of relegation up to promotion. And I watched how they played against us in the FA Cup. And I think they'll stay up. I think Forest will stay up. I think Fulham, I think they've got a good squad. I quite like Marco Silva. For me, Bournemouth have just, nothing. I think the way they play, I don't think is particularly great. I can see them dropping a lot. And I looked at their kind of the first 6-7 fixtures, and I think Bournemouth by far have the worst kind of run from what I remember of these opening fixtures. So I think they will be the slowest to get to that 10 points.
Yeah, I think I also looked at the fixtures and I can't remember what they were, but I do remember that my reasoning for picking Fulham wasn't that they had the worst fixtures. It was something more convoluted than that. It was something like Bournemouth have the worst fixtures, but Fulham have average. I think my thinking was Bournemouth's fixtures are really bad, and so they won't be disheartened when they lose all those games. And then when they have the easy games, they'll get points. Whereas Fulham will probably lose anyway because they're newly promoted, but against teams that they need to beat, and then they'll be disheartened. Probably Mitrovic will disappear again like he did last time they were in the league, which isn't his fault, by the way. He just got dropped for whatever reason. So yeah, I had a very convoluted reason for picking Fulham on that one, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next question is the sack race. We've alluded to it already. Lot of love, or rather not love, for Lampard at Everton.
Get him out.
Anybody want to predict which team? I think Matt's already said.
True to form.
I never knew, Matt, you had such a hatred of Wolves.
Yeah, when I got your predictions in, I was like, what have Wolves done to you? James, do you want to talk us through Frank Lampard's impending sacking from Everton?
His whole managerial career has been meh, to say the most. That's putting it lightly, actually. He did a okay job at Derby, not really, to be honest, because they were a lot better than they probably did in the league that year. And then you saw what happened with Chelsea. Got the job because he was a former Chelsea player. Wasn't even the first choice for this job. The Championship manager, Wayne Rooney, was first choice for the Everton job. And he only got it because Rooney decided not to take it. And didn't, even when he did take it, didn't really improve the team. Obviously, their position didn't change, and they just managed to stay up, which obviously the whole club is taken as a victory. But really, I don't think he has any philosophy. I don't think he even knows what his best Everton team will be this season, especially now he's lost Richarlison. I think he's got his back against the wall already.
Yeah, I think Richarlison a big loss as well. Yeah, I would probably have put Everton to go down if I hadn't presumed Frank Lampard wouldn't be their manager. I don't dislike Frank Lampard as a person, but yeah, I agree. I don't think he's I don't think he's Premier League quality as a manager. Yeah. So kind of the opposite question in a way. So this question: pick the team whose manager will receive the first Manager of the Month award. Does anybody remember who got Manager of the Month for August last year?
I do.
Go on, Jordan.
It was Nuno.
It was Nuno. Did you actually remember that, or did you look it up?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Yeah.
in my statistics and my research for
your detailed research. Going on that theme, Matt's gone for the Spurs manager again. This time it's Antonio Conte. James has gone Brighton. Mark has gone for a strong start for United. I've gone for Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, and Jordan has gone for Manchester City. Mark, expecting a strong start from your side?
I mean, you can only go off of what we've seen so far. And so far in the preseason, I think we've played fantastic football. I think Ten Hag is really getting his ideas across to the players. And I think I do think we're going to get our transfer business done. But I think if we do get like Frankie de Jong in, if we manage to keep Ronaldo, I think both those things are going to be massive, massive boosts. And I think we will see the best of Erik ten Hag and his football philosophy at United. And James, I saw when my prediction came up, you were shaking your head. Have a little faith. Have a little faith in Ten Hag.
Honestly, my 10 years of my confidence being crushed every single season. I've had enough.
Nah, you have to have faith, and I have faith in him. I think, first month, I think he'll do bits. Yeah.
James, you've gone for Graham Potter. You a Graham Potter fan?
I am a Graham Potter fan. I think, to be honest, I would not have minded him as Man United manager, to be honest. I think he's done a great job with Brighton so far. And I think they do have great fixtures to start the season as well. So I think that, and they also have a lot less pressure on them than the rest of these teams on that list. So I'd say they're set up to start the season pretty well.
Next question is net zero. So this question is about finding the team that's going to have near zero goal difference at the end of the season. So pick one team to have near zero goal difference, and you lose points the further away from zero in either direction their goal difference is. Again, full explainer of how the points work there on the quiz form. But basically, we're looking for near zero goal difference. Matt has gone for Leicester. James has gone for his favourite team, Crystal Palace. Mark has gone for Brighton. I've also gone for Brighton, and Jordan has gone for Manchester United. Mark, you predicted Brighton, I think, the highest out of any of us in the league. You think a good season, but with near zero goal difference?
Yeah, I think Brighton are a team that, on their day, they can play well. But that's the thing. It has to be on their day. That's the only time I see them really scoring. As for conceding as well, they don't really concede a lot. They're kind of a very well-run team. They don't concede much. They don't score much. I think last season, I did do my research. Their goal difference was -2. So that's the closest you can come to zero. So I think it will be the same as last season. That's why I put them for net zero.
Yeah. Matt, we've not really spoken about Leicester so far. Any thoughts on Leicester or your reasoning for putting them here?
I think I looked it up, and last season, Man United actually did have zero ended last season, which is presumably why Jordan's gone for them again. But I looked at that and thought, I think Man United will be better next season than they were last season. And yeah, they'll probably score more goals and hopefully for them, be a bit tighter at the back. I just saw Leicester as a team that I thought, you'll score a decent amount of goals, but I feel like I've also seen you in a good number of them getting fairly convincingly beaten or whatever. So I just saw them as a sort of a fairly middling team who will they'll do well enough, but I don't think they'll have the firepower. Vardy's not been as good, or he's not been as around, perhaps. More fairly to him last couple of seasons. So I think that's why I went for them.
Very good. Question 12 is Bookie's favourite. I think I've written pick a team there. It should be pick a player. So it's an individual player. And every time they get a yellow card without then going on to get a red card, you get a point. So we're looking for players that get booked a lot. Matt has gone Bruno Fernandes. James has gone for Marcus Rashford. Mark has gone Tyrone Mings. I've gone for Mohamed Salisu, and Jordan has also gone for Bruno Fernandes. Jordan, Bruno Fernandes, I think is probably a decent, safe pick here. He does puts a lot of challenges in. Do you think his sort of aggression and his attitude is an advantage to United, or is it hindering them?
Well, that's a good question. I would say it is. I say it's an advantage. I really like Bruno Fernandes as a player. I think he's really important to the team. Can I also say I'm really pleased that me and Matt have yet again picked the same. I'm loving this connection.
That's what it is.
But really, my strategy for answering this question was probably what most of us did a little bit. Was look at last season before yellow cards, and I think it's a safe bet that Bruno's going to be up there near the top, around those sort of numbers. But yeah, I do think it's an advantage for the team. I really like him as a player.
James, you've gone for Marcus Rashford. I did briefly look at the statistics, but I don't remember seeing him up there last season. What's your reasoning for picking Rashford this time around?
Well, Marcus has had a rough time in the last couple of years, battling through injury, and then obviously the famous penalty miss at the Euros, and then not coming really back to form at all last season. And to be honest, when I saw him play last season, I saw a very, very frustrated player. And I think he can get a bit mouthy to refs sometimes, and does have that little, I don't know, does have a streak in him that I think he sometimes gets in altercations with other players, and obviously he stands up for himself when he gets pushed around, that type of thing. So I think he'll get more of those type of yellow cards, where I do think Bruno Fernandes is going to be up there and will get to cut yellow cards for time wasting and rash challenges and other stuff. But I do think Bruno could maybe even get a red. Who knows?
Yeah, when I wrote this question, my mind instantly went to Mohamed Salisu, which isn't something that happens often. But I just feel like every time I saw him last season, he was getting a yellow card, and I think he played quite well, actually. I think he, by all accounts, had a good season, but he just always seemed to be getting booked. And so I looked at the stats, and he was there or thereabouts. So I was like, right, I'll go with it. And then I did realise, actually, that Southampton have signed another centre-back in the summer. So I'm a little worried about that. Mark, are you worried about a similar thing with, I think, is it Diego Carlos has come into Villa, or are you confident that Mings will be?
No, I think Mings will still be starting. I think it will be him and Diego. I am very surprised at the Bruno Fernandes and Rashford picks. I'm not going to lie. I think, yeah, a lot of these guys were frustrated last season, but I think it's because we were awful last season, and I don't see us guys being awful this season. I think a lot of those yellow cards are just like outbursts and things like petulance, yellow cards for petulance and things like that. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. I hope it's not going to be a problem this season. So yeah, that's why I went for Tyrone Mings. He's kind of silly. He's slow. Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving the difference in confidence levels between James and Mark on Manchester United.
This is an older United fan that's seen the glory days at their height and has seen the capitulation of that team in my adult life as well. I cannot stand it.
Moving on to a red card question. This one is a team as a whole, and you get a point for every red card that team picks up. Matt has gone for Leeds. James has gone Spurs. Mark's gone for Arsenal. I've gone for Everton, and Jordan's also gone for Everton. Mark, how much of your prediction was based off Granit Xhaka?
A lot. Yeah, I'd say a big chunk was based off Granit Xhaka. But then again, it's almost every time I think Arsenal struggle, or every time I saw Arsenal struggle last season, it was because they got a silly red card. And I don't think that's like, I think a lot of the players are still the same. They haven't really changed. I think it's more of a mentality thing. And I don't know if the mentality is very easy to change. So I still think that they're going to get loads of red cards this season.
Matt, you've gone for Leeds. So what's your thinking behind that one?
Yeah, I think I saw they were high up last season. Well, I mean, maybe this will change. I mean, post Bielsa and with the new guys, the American guy, isn't it? I can't remember his name now though.
Jesse Marsh.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So I feel like they're used to playing quite a high octane game that's quite intense, and I think it lends itself towards rash challenges. And I guess it's evidenced in the fact that they had a number of red cards last season. But they might also just have a frustrating season, and I think that will lend itself towards outbursts and again, rash challenges. So that was my thinking with that one.
With you saying the phrase rash challenges there, I'm currently just kicking myself that I didn't make a rash challenges pun on Marcus Rashford in the last question. I don't think I'll ever live that one down. Next question is Saint Sheets predicts how many clean sheets Southampton will keep this season. Nice simple one. Matt's gone for 11. James has gone 4. Mark has gone 7. I've also gone 11. And Jordan's gone 8. Matt, can you try and make me sound less like an idiot? Can you give me?
Try and make myself sound less like an idiot as well. Blimey. I mean, I guess I thought 38 games. They're not terrible, Southampton. So, I can imagine a few games here and there. And I think I nearly went 10 and went, I'll just be a little more optimistic and went for 11. So. We'll see. But now, in the light of everything else, I feel feeling less confident. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think I had in my head. I can't even remember who they've signed. I think they signed Bella Kotchap at centre back, and they signed a CDM as well. It was Joe Aribo. I just think they've made some really good signings this year. I actually think Southampton potentially will improve. And so I had in my head. Oh, and they've got a keeper as well, Bazunu, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, Southampton have been without a kind of regular first-choice keeper for a long time. So I think I had in my head to add 3 or 4 onto what they got last year. And I think last year they got 7 or 8. So that's where I came from. James, obviously, you predicted them to go down. So you've gone very low. Jordan, what was your thinking with 8?
Similar to you, Matthew. I looked at kind of last season and last few seasons, actually. I think I looked at the last kind of 6 seasons of clean sheets, and they've all been around kind of 8 or 9. I'm billing Saints this year to kind of probably do a little bit worse. I reckon they're going to be scrapping around the relegation zone. So I've put them on that lower end of 8. I don't think they'll do much worse than that. I certainly don't think they'll get 11, which is a bold claim. But we'll see. We'll see.
I'll mark you down as a lower end of 8 clean sheets.
Thanks. Yeah.
Next question. Gunner's Top Gun. Predict who will have the most goals and assists combined for Arsenal this season. You can see the options that were available there on the right. Matt and James have both gone for Saka, and Mark, myself, and Jordan have all gone for Gabriel Jesus. Jordan, Jesus, Arsenal new signing, some others coming in as well. You mentioned Zinchenko earlier. Exciting season to be an Arsenal fan?
I think so. I'm very excited. I really like, one of my worries with us finishing where we did last year and just kind of missing out on Champions League was, not being able to track some of these players to our team if they're not going to be playing Champions League football. And so the fact we've got these players you've already mentioned, and I am looking forward to seeing, especially Gabby Jesus play him. I think he's going to be great for us. He's kind of exactly what I think we need in that team. Hence why I reckon most kind of goals and assists. I'd be very surprised most if there's anyone other than him.
He's had a very good pre-season so far as well, I think, hasn't he? Matt, you've gone for Saka, another good season for the young Englishman.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of games. I think he gets a lot of assists. He's always kind of in and around the box, in and around dangerous areas. I think Gabriel Jesus probably will have a good season if he gets played a decent amount. I guess finding his way in a new team, you might just find over the course of the season the Saka's just a bit more consistent with those goal contributions. That's why I went for him.
Moving across, I started that sentence and realised my London geography was not great, and that was going to get called out. Moving across North London.
That's
yeah,
true.
Nice. Antonio Conte, famous for his wing-backs. At time of record, well, actually, no, not at the time of recording. I think Jed Spence signed today, I think.
Yep.
But at time of writing and answering the quiz, those were the wing-back options. So it was whoever's going to make the most Premier League starts this season. Matt's gone for Emerson Royale, and everybody else has gone for Ivan Perisic. Matt, Emerson Royale, a slightly left field pick there, if you don't mind me saying.
I thought he was really solid last season. I think, again, listening to people's commentary and pundits around the game, I think a lot of people commenting this guy took us by surprise by being better than we thought he'd be, or maybe he was a bit of an unknown before he came in. But I think in the sense, Perisic is coming in new this season. Obviously a strong player, but I don't know whether he's going to get thrown in straight away. Whereas I feel like Emerson Royale is Conte would be confident in him already, and therefore he'd get started straight away, and probably overall would get more games on that basis. But we'll see. I mean, Perisic is fairly old as well, and Conte's system demands quite a lot of you in terms of fitness, in terms of doing a lot of running. So you might find that Perisic, just for that reason, can't stick it out over the season. But you guys obviously think differently.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Emerson Royale. I think probably because a lot like me, I think he does what he's told to do on a football pitch, and I think what's going on in his head is pretty good, but his feet just don't cooperate some of the time. I think also I feel like he's very much a right back, and then to be thrown into a right wing back situation, I think he does the job. I quite like him. Mark, do you think Perisic is as clear a choice here as the stats on screen seem to suggest, or is it a bit closer call?
I think it will be a close call just because of what Matt said right there about Perisic's age. Yeah, he is getting a little older. He's probably not as fit as he was before, but I still think he is in top shape, and I think he'll be able to play as many games as the season demands of him. As well as that, I think he knows Conte's system inside and out, and Conte knows him inside and out. So I think them two together, I think that's match made in heaven. And I think that's what you always kind of want as a manager. Like, you want to have a player that you've managed before, and players obviously want to have a manager that's managed them before. So I think he'll have a good season, and I think he'll play loads of football for them.
Okay, into the home stretch. So we've got, I think, 6 yes/no questions to finish. First one is Graham Potter is still Brighton manager on the final day. Matt has gone yep. James has gone yep. Mark has gone yep. I've gone no, and Jordan's gone yes as well. Jordan, talk me through your thinking of Graham Potter still hanging about.
Oh, nothing maverick or crazy really. My thinking. I think I agree with kind of what these other guys and what James was saying earlier in particular. I think Potter's a good manager. I like what he's done with Brighton. I back him to finish kind of well towards the end of the season, around those kind of, pushing the top half of the table, and I expect him to stay there as manager.
Yeah, I want to add some extra predictions onto my prediction, which is my prediction is that England will have a terrible World Cup. Southgate will get sacked, and Graham Potter will be the England manager by the end of the season. That's why I've gone for no on that one.
Matt, I do agree with you there. I think Southgate will get sacked, and I think Potter will become manager, but I don't think it will happen midway through the season. I think he'll finish the season with Brighton and then go on afterwards to be England manager, because I don't think there'll be a rush midway through the season, really.
Yeah, and after the World Cup.
Yeah.
I will be deeply upset if that happens. I'll feel I've been cheated out of points in that case. Next question is whether Crystal Palace will have more or less points than last season. So Matt has said they will have more points, as has James, as has Mark, and then me and Jordan have gone for no. James, you think your favourite team, Crystal Palace, are gonna do better again this year?
Yeah, I just really like Patrick Vieira. I think he's done, I don't think he has the best players at Crystal Palace, but I think what he's done with them has been pretty good. I think they obviously respect him quite a lot. I think that's shown in how they've played. Obviously, they lose Gallagher this season, which is massive for them. He was a massive role in that team. But I do think Elise, I think his name is like a very, very, he's very, very promising. I've got high hopes for him this season.
Moving on. This next question, Harling starts City's opening league game. Now, we've actually all gone through on this. But again, same as an earlier question. Jordan, is it as clear cut as that? Or, is he definitely going to start?
Definitely not as clear cut as that. Definitely not. I think it's a real toss up. It's hard to predict anything when it comes to Pep. and playing that game of pep roulette and who's going to start and who's not. But I think for me, edges out. He probably will. I think he's such a big signing. I think City have needed a player like him, and I think the kind of the hype around it means I would back him too. But we're talking like 55% to 45% certain, not as clear cut as probably this would suggest.
He better start. He's in my fantasy.
Next question, Donny van der breakout season. Van der Beek starts 10 or more league games for Manchester United. 3 yeses at the top from Jordan, Matt and James, and 2 no's from me and Mark. Matt, you're expecting Van der Beek to appear this season?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I might change this actually, just based on, I saw something today that was like, I mean, it's I think it was Twitter gossip, but again, this might not be massive, great insights, but that he was going to be potentially included in some sort of deal for United to get some other player, which was like that sounded the alarm bells to me. If Ten Hag, dad of Donny, turns up and is like, actually, oh, you're not that good. So yeah, I think at the time, right, saying that, I was thinking, yeah, this is a guy who knows the play. He's going to give him a good shot. Has potential to get the best out of him. And you think, looking at that, United midfield, there's not huge competition from Fred, McTominay, etc. So you'd think this would be his opportunity. But yeah, to see if Ten Hag likes him.
Yeah, we'll see the next chapter in a very strange career so far for Van der Beek. Relegation scrap. So yes, the relegation scrap will go down to the final day. We've all gone for yes, apart from Jordan, who's boring and thinks it's going to be done long before that. Matt, excite us for some final day relegation scrap.
Well, I think we've all looking at when he said we were going to come bottom 3. I think there are a lot of teams that are like pretty going to be pretty scrappy. Probably there'll be a few teams that lose their managers. A few teams that stayed up last season who were poor and like don't seem to have gotten any better. I think I've been more convinced of Everton's demise over the course of this conversation. Even though I'm a Chelsea fan and I do like Frank Lampard as a guy and everything he did for our club, I think he's a fantastic talker, but maybe hasn't got actually the quality really behind him. So yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, that is the more exciting answer. And boo for Jordan saying it'll be boring, but yeah, a lot of teams who could be in and about on the last day, definitely.
Jordan, have you got time to comment on this question before you have to shoot off?
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, I don't know whether it's just because this season that last day was so mental with all the points won and lost and all the teams in places, and whether that's just like that recency bias in our memory. But for me, I was just kind of thinking back through. I feel like in general, I can't remember much going down to the last day. I feel like most of the last day, it feels like that bottom 3 are pretty settled. Like I said, I've got nothing statistically to back that up, but I just feel like that's what I was feeling. Hence why I went no.
Coming into what I believe is the final question of the quiz this year, and that is James Milner announces his retirement within 1 day of the final game of the season. We've all gone for no. we all think he's going to carry on. Mark, is James Milner going to carry on forever?
James Milner will never retire. He will he will play. My children will watch him play. My children. That guy. I mean, to be fair to him, he looks in great shape. Whenever he comes on, he doesn't look tired. So, yeah, I don't know when he'll retire. When he's bored, maybe, but not because of fitness. Definitely not.
I think I had another additional prediction in my head, which is why the question is worded in a very specific way, which is that I envisioned Liverpool winning the Champions League final a week after the season and then him announcing his retirement after that. So that's maybe why I went for no. But yeah, I have no reason to say yes or no, really. It is a complete guess. Well, anyway, that brings us to the end of our quiz for this year. Anybody got any final comments before we wrap up?
I would just like to state my position on Leicester.
Yes, of course.
As I left them out of my table. I would actually like to replace Crystal Palace with Leicester, or I'd like to put Crystal Palace into the 11th to 17th, top of that end, and then put Leicester in from 7th to 10th.
So yeah, Leicester to finish above Palace.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess all that leaves us to do then is to forget about this for 9 months and then come back in May and see who's won. Anybody got anything they'd like to promote? Any social media or anything like that?
Yeah, check out the Box to Box podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts and it's on Spotify. So yeah, have a listen. We just talk about football just like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and work out how to link that in the description if I'm good enough. Cool.
I'd love to promote a YouTube channel called Matt Finish as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're Scandinavian, then you'll particularly like it, I'm sure. Matt Finish.
Great. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. And like I say, we'll be back on this YouTube channel in May. Then who knows? Maybe there'll be a video from me in the intermediate period. Who knows? But yeah, we'll be back in May to go through our predictions. If you do want to fill in the quiz and play along, just make a note of your answers yourself, and yeah, we can see how you get on in May. Thanks everybody for joining. Goodbye. Thanks everybody for joining. Goodbye.
Bye.
Nice. I was unsure whether it was a good idea and whether anybody would do it to also say bye.